We're going to talk about some picking and some isolation exercises. And as a guitar player, your pick hand is critical, that we can get that working with machine-like precision. And these exercises have really come in handy for my students. I find that they work exceptionally well. We're going to talk about alternate picking and also about economy picking now, because there are times when I use both. And you'll see exactly why. Let me go over a couple things about the pick first. I like the celluloid tortoiseshell picks. Some people like nylon picks, some people like the Dunlop picks, whatever. Just remember with a pick, and they all come in, as you know, a variety of thicknesses, from thin, medium, thick, that as you change the thickness of your pick, it does affect the sound on the strings. The thicker you go, it kind of deadens, or you get not as bright a sound that you would as with a thinner pick. I like medium. I just always have used mediums and they work really well for me. But try different ones out. But don't just try for the feel of the pick. Listen to how the pick sounds on the strings, because you can hear a difference between different thicknesses picks. Different pick thicknesses, right? All right. Now holding the pick. I hold it between my thumb and forefinger, and I kind of hold it like this. Okay? You get that shot there. That's the way I like it. That feels the best to me. But some of my students, if you turn the pick, hold it like this, with their thumb kind of over the top. And that's acceptable too. That just doesn't feel as natural to me. So try both ways, see what you like the best. But I like holding it like this. And the thing about picking, which you're going to have to get used to, especially if you want to be picking really fast, and we're going to get into some really fast picking, is it's in the wrist, okay? The picking, strumming, when you're strumming, that's more arm, right? But picking is more in the wrist. It's very much, I'm not using my forearm or arm at all. It's in the wrist. For instance, I'm just going to pick one. I'm just picking an A note here on the high E string. But if you notice my wrist, it's all, the picking motion is all in the wrist. All wrist. So that's what you want to get down, this wrist. Notice too, I'm laying my hand on the strings. I keep saying that in all these modules. It's critical because I'm dampening out, muting all the other strings. So my right hand is lying on the actual bridge. If you have a Floyd Rose tremolo, you have to be careful not to put too much pressure, or you're gonna be pushing the floating bridge back, and your guitar is going to sound out of tune. So you have to be careful with that. This is not a hardtail, this Stratocaster, so it does have a floating bridge, and I keep it about 1/8 of an inch off the body, which is the standard dimension. This is for Fender Stratocasters. But my touch is kind of, I'm not pushing down. If I was pushing down, then I'd be activating the bridge would be moving up and down. So just be careful you're not pushing too hard. And that just takes a little practice and you'll feel it. It's a very feel thing. So when you're picking, you really want to get this wrist movement down. Okay? On the wide shot, you could see my arm. Very little movement in my arm. All wrist. Okay? Another thing I do when I pick that's pretty important, I think, is obviously you cannot hold the pick way, way out here, because you're not going to have any control. And you don't want to hold the pick way, 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 so you only have this tiny little bit there. So, you know, you want to get up to right around there, or even some players play here. When I'm strumming, I kind of have it back a little further, but when I'm picking faster, I go in a little tighter. But the thing that I do, that I see a lot of players, what they do, and I'm going to pull back on the pick just so you can see this better. A lot of players, when they pick straight on, where they're picking, the pick is straight to the strings, like that. And I don't do that. Now, I know a lot of people do that and it works, but here's what I found work. I've noticed that with a lot of students, and a lot of times when you go straight, the pick sometimes gets hung up. because of the friction. So what I do is I angle the pick slightly. Can you get a shot of that, Rob? Can you see that? How? Instead of going, again, I'm going to pull back on the pick. Instead of going straight at it, I'm going to angle the pick slightly to the strings. And it doesn't matter if you angle it on the upward or on the downward. Try it. I like going upward. What's that? Maybe like 40 degrees? Maybe 40 degrees, 35 degrees, something like that. But that angle will cut out some of that friction and allows a lot more fluidity with the wrist movement, because you want to get real fluid. So try that, angling that pick slightly, not vertically, because if you go vertical with it, see, you're not going to hear the note. You're cutting out all the sound. So you want to just go slightly, so you don't lose too much of your tone or lose your sound out of the string, but enough to cut that down. And then just practice picking open strings at first. Like for instance, I'll go slow. Notice the movement of the wrist. And then you're going to build up the speed as you go along. Notice the angle of the pick, and then go up to the next string. Okay, that's what you're shooting for. Fluid, in time, you know, very much in time, very fluid, and it's going to take a little time to kind of get that motion down, but I'm going to give you some picking. See that string? Angled, pick angled to the string slightly, and you could really cut through that string nice. So when you're doing your finger exercises that I have explained in a previous module, and you're playing whatever fingering, I'll do it slow. As I'm going up the fretboard, alternate pick, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. See the pick angled to the strings. Okay, so I want you to angle that pick and use that wrist when you're picking. That's very important. Let me give you an exercise, and I'm not talking, when I'm talking about fast picking, we're going to talk about picking every note. Okay, we're not going to be doing right now hammer-ons and pull-offs and whatnot. We're talking about just picking everything. We'll do hammers and pulls later. So I want you to get used to that. Picking every note. I'm not doing this. It's tremolo picking, where you're picking one note multiple times. Next note. Okay, this exercise here, let's take a piece of a G major scale. Let's take a scale fragment. This is the scale. G major. Okay, we're going to play this fragment. So 1, 2, 4, 1, 2, 4 fingering from that scale. So I'm playing the F sharp, the G, the A, and eventually we're going to play the B, the C, and the D. Okay? Now, once you get your alternate picking really going well, I want you to try, I'll give you an example of economy picking. Economy picking is where instead of doing straight down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, occasionally you might do like a down, up, down, down, especially if you're going to a next string. I find that pretty helpful, especially when building up speed, if you're building up a lot of speed for a run. Let me give you an example. Playing this scale fragment, we're going to play these 4 notes. And then back. Now notice the picking pattern I'm using. Down, up, down, down. I'm not doing an upstroke there. The reason I don't is because down, up, down, I would have to cross that string and come back up to do an up. And for me, that, and some players play that way, but I like using economy picking, especially when you're trying to build up that speed on runs like this, where you're going to have that 4th note on an adjacent string, and you're going to go down. So here's a little pattern that you can play, and see if you can take it nice and slow first using this scale fragment. This is in the key of G major, right? And just work through that and try to build up that speed. Oops, open string there. Okay, and my G. Now let's add 2 more notes to that to make it a little bit more challenging. We're going to go down, up, down, down, and then we'll add the next 2 notes in the scale, the next 2 parts of the fragment, and then back that up. So we're playing the F sharp, the G, the A, the B, the C, and the D. So what I'm doing there is I'm switching up. First time, now I'll go through the whole fragment. Down, up, down, down. Up, down. So that's going to get you going with your picking. And try the economy when you're trying to get fast on fast runs, especially on adjacent strings like that. No matter what, like here's another part of a G major scale. Here's my G roll. Picking every note. No hammers or pulls yet. That's just all straight picked. Okay, so try those on these scale fragments. Just take a piece of a scale and try picking 3 notes and then going to the next string with another downstroke and working. And the other thing too is you really first want to get this wrist. Remember, angle that pick slightly. Even if you're going to tremolo pick it, just so you can get. And try to move it around. Right? Slow. Okay, so remember with your picking, really work that wrist. Use these techniques in those finger exercises that we went over in a previous module. And start slow. Don't try to start picking tremendously fast right out of the gate. You want to warm up slow. Again, I do these exercises, finger exercises and picking exercises when I'm warming up before shows. It's kind of like a sprinter wouldn't go right to the track and run a 100-meter dash straight out of the gate. They get there hours before, go through all their series of stretches and working out before they go full tilt. Same thing with guitar. You want to warm up and you really want to take it slow and clean at first and then work on your clarity. And it shouldn't matter if you're playing clean or with gain or with whatever effect you use. Again, the desired effect is you don't want to hear all that string noise and open string pop, so use that left and right hand. So you can see what I'm doing is all these lesson modules kind of are overlapped. It's all a matter of technique, the way you pick, the way you hold the pick, the way you're angling to the strings, your left and right hands working together to mute out all the noise. Okay, so you got to employ all these things, and it sounds like a lot at first, but after a while it just becomes part of your technique. And you're doing it automatically. Like I'm moving my hand up, doing the muting automatically. I don't think about it. It's just the way I play now. When I'm picking really fast, I'm not throwing my arm in there to try and pick. It's just the way that I've trained over the years and have developed that it's just part of my playing now. So you just got to keep practicing, 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 and it'll get easier, easier, easier. See you in the next module.